I'm your Jesus-loving and potty host, L.A. Sprague. Welcome to Christians with Chronic Illnesses. Becca, thank you so much for being on the podcast. I'm so excited.
I'm humbled to be here.
Dude, same. So I thought it'd be fun if we talked a little bit about how we know each other, because we're from a little, like, what do you even call it? Subculture? Like a niche? Like, I don't know. Like, I feel like
it's weird because it's like, you know, I think I've known you since 2013 because weren't you at the Pit Fest 2013?
I don't know, probably. I was little, is all I know.
You were so little. And that's what, it's so funny when I was talking to a couple of my friends about this podcast.
Yeah.
I was like, man, I knew Leah and now she's married and it makes me feel old. Yeah. So it's like, oh my gosh.
Well, how old were you in 2013?
I had just turned 18.
Okay. Oh my gosh, so you were young too. And for everyone listening, for reference, I was 13 in 2013. I'm not 13 anymore, but
yeah, I was like, not 13 anymore, but
no, I was 13. So yeah, so you're in a band, a Christian band, and I went to like all these Christian, like, you know, I guess they were like smaller concerts, and that's mostly what I went to, was like more local shows.
Yeah.
And then I actually don't think it was Pit Fest, which if you're listening, you're interested in like smaller concerts or just concerts in general. Pit Fest is awesome. Kingdom Come Festival is awesome. Always One Ministries, shout out to you guys. They're great. But anyways, I actually think I saw your band. Was it still Reclaim the Day at the time, or was it something else?
Honestly, I think when we first met, it was probably my first band at the time.
Was it? I know you had, I think it was a CD that had a blue hand or something.
Yeah, that was, so, funny story. I actually have that album on my wall. So yeah, that was definitely World Apart.
World Apart, okay.
Yeah, World Apart. Those were the days. Not that I'm proud of how that music is to this day. It's kind of like I've grown a lot since then. So
right? Yeah.
You know, but don't go looking for those songs. They're not the greatest. You know, I mean, when everybody has got one band that they're starting out with, and it's kind of like one of those things where. But it's just completely night and day difference from back then to now.
Yep. Dude, for sure. But hey, I loved it, you know? I loved it. I loved you guys. And so, anyway, so now every time we see each other, you're always convinced I haven't grown an inch. Or no, you're always convinced I'm taller. One of the two. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it got to the point where I would just say that just because, I mean,
tradition.
I knew that you weren't growing anymore. But, like, I always was like, you had grown a little bit. I had to make myself feel better because you were getting older, and I was like, I'm getting older, and pretty soon I'm gonna start growing gray hairs and things like that, and you know, so you know, but that, and I'm always like, you know, the way that my family has always been, we always tease a little bit the people that we love. So,
makes sense.
Kind of where it is, and so it's been amazing to see you grow, and I'm still kind of dumbfounded that you're already married and you're like full on grown up now, and I'm just like, what?
You have a kid. I still can't fathom that, honestly, even though you were 18 at the time.
Oh, I can't even fathom that. I can't even fathom that I'm a kid. You know, I used to tell my friends in high school, I was like, I'm going to be the last person married in my friend group, and I'm going to be the last person with a kid. And I was the first for both.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, it was pretty interesting. To say the least.
We don't always call our futures out the greatest.
No, we don't. No, not at all. But here we are. You know, God knows our futures. It's exactly the opposite sometimes of what we expected them to be.
Yep. So, yeah, can attest.
I can't complain. So.
Aw. Yeah, tell us about your present now. What was your future? But I met you because you were in the music scene, and you're still in the music scene 12 years later. So, or I guess now 13 years later.
A lot of growth. A lot of growth. I started doing music professionally probably about 2011.
Okay.
And then I started to kind of, with every project that I've been in, I've like grown a lot. I've learned a lot of life lessons the hard way, but yeah, needless to say, now it's kind of where I feel at home, and I've grown and had friendships that I never expected that I would have. And at the same time, I have a husband who's from Arkansas, which is like 8 to 10 hours away, depending on where you're coming from in Indiana. And then a kid who's 4 years old. And I'm just thinking, wow, where did the time go? I already have a kid who's almost 5 years old. There'll be 5 this year. And, you know, we have our own studio business. We work at a rock school, basically, where I every night, except for Fridays at this point, and Saturday and Sunday, because Sundays were closed. But I'm working with a band every single night to teach them how to perform, how to be in a band, and play with each other, especially for people that are played instruments and sang and stuff all by themselves, and they don't know how to play with another person. Just kind of doing that and giving them opportunities to be able to showcase and play music themselves with their very first band. And it's a really cool experience. It's like, I didn't get that when I grew up. I just was like, all right, here, you're in a band.
Yeah, I've honestly never heard of that before. Yeah.
It's really cool to be a mentor to people, to some of these kids. And some of these kids come in with rough lives. Like the only thing that they have going for them is music and this school. And it's humbling to be a part of such a beautiful thing, and that I'm here to help out where I can. Just, you know, where I had a very long and tumultuous path of learning a lot of horrible lessons. I want to make sure that I protect these kids and, you know, hope that they don't make the same mistakes that I did. So I try to pass on the best advice that I can while teaching them how to play their instruments, but also teaching them about the industry and what that looks like and things like that. So it's honestly nothing that I ever expected I would be doing. Yeah. But I'm here, and it's crazy. It's really crazy.
And it sounds like you like it.
I love it. I love it. When I'm not touring or doing studio stuff or whatever I'm doing, because basically my full-time job is music. Yeah. So if I'm not at the school, I'm out on the road or doing something involving music. So it's just, it's a very humbling thing that I'm able to do what I'm able to do. Yeah. I can't say I never saw, I worked really hard, some normal 9-to-5 jobs for years. And I can't say that I never saw it coming, but I hoped that would be the case. The way that it went was what I never saw it coming, because it was kind of like my health and how I got there, and so many things, so many factors played into it, and it was just it was a lot. It was a lot of rough patches, but you know, and still going through it to this day. But I couldn't be more overjoyed to see what's up, what's coming next. So
yeah, that's awesome. I think it's cool that you've been able to pursue that passion of music, and I'm excited to hear how health contributed to that journey. I mean, it sucks, like health issues suck, but you know, like this podcast, for example, wouldn't exist if it weren't for my health issues. And so I'm looking forward to hearing how that all worked together. Do you want to name plug like your studio, and if you want to, your school? Thank you so much for spending your precious time with Christians with Chronic Illnesses. Your support means more to us than we can even describe. If you have a desire to donate or join a subscription for Christians with Chronic Illnesses, please see links in the show notes below.
Yeah. So my studio's called, it's basically a branch of Reclaim the Day, which is my main band that I'm the lead vocalist of. So it's Reclaim the Day Studios. And we've been doing some mixing and production and mastering projects lately for a lot of the bands in the scene, but it's been a fun thing. but also working on some of our own stuff lately. For
Yeah.
the school, we've it's called Rock Stars of Tomorrow. It's a
So cute.
franchise. Yeah. Yeah, it's a franchise. It's a newer franchise.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people you'll see like School of Rock and
Right.
things
Yep.
like that. It's kind of one of those, but it's different. It's a newer franchise, and I don't know if they have another one in Indiana or not, but
Okay.
it's beautiful because it's a great family atmosphere vibe that
Aw.
has always been there. And you know, since the moment I met the owners, they were great, and we really kind of tried to make the impact that we can there. So that's been cool. So if you're in the Indy area and you do need some music lessons or you want to join a band, you know, it's the perfect time right now. You know,
That's so cool.
so
Man, wish that were around when I was like 13.
I know. That's what I said. I had to learn on my own and
Right.
on books and stuff. And I mean, granted, they had lessons, but I never got into them.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
but I know how necessary they really are now. And you know, even as a teacher, I'm still taking lessons. You know, Zana teaches me vocal lessons, and on top of teaching, I'm still learning everything that I can, so that way I can teach better
Aw.
to my students.
Yeah,
So
that's awesome. Yeah, I heard this a lot in college because I went for a teaching degree, and you hear all the time that to be a teacher is to be a lifelong learner. So
yes,
it's cool to hear
absolutely.
that also applies to the music industry. That's neat.
Yeah, you find a lot of people that are like kind of in the older crowd,
Yeah.
and a lot of them will probably say, "Oh, you know, I've been playing for like 50 years. I don't need to learn anything more." And you're just like,
Yeah.
"Well,
Yeah, you can always learn more.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly."
So Reclaim the Day, would you say it's a Christian rock band? Is that how you'd put it?
It is, but it's
Okay.
also it's in both markets.
That's
So
fair.
we
Yep.
want to apply to both markets, you know, because we want to appeal to everybody.
Right.
Because the message is for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, like we've played in bars, we've played in other places that
Yep.
aren't Christian related, and so that's kind of why we're in both secular and
Right.
Christian.
Yeah,
So
that's awesome.
we want to be able to, you know, tell those people, hey, we love them too.
Yeah.
So it's been great. So
Very
you know,
cool.
when I'm not with Reclaim the Day, I'm usually with Zana. I'm playing bass for Zana, and since I play bass for her, and then some others who hire me out when they can, like Matt Moore, or
Yeah.
I think These Beautiful Ruins is looking to get me on. Sometimes it's just
Nice.
people reach out to me, and I just kind of like, you know, I'm a hired gun at some
Yeah.
point.
And you
Go out
have
where I'm needed.
you also have your own personal music, right? Outside of
I
Reclaim
do.
the Day, you also
I
have
do.
just Becca Sugg, right?
Yeah, I have one song that's been out since 2021, but I'm working slowly, very, very slowly. Because there's just so much going on an entire album.
Oh my gosh, no way. That's so fun.
Yeah.
Can't
So
wait to hear
there's
it.
a Reclaim the Day album in the mix, and then there's also a Becca Sugg album being in the mix.
Awesome. Lots of creativity. Dude, I can't wait to hear that.
I'm excited. So
Yeah, me too.
a lot of work though, but I mean,
I bet.
it's worth it. So
Yeah, absolutely. So you talked about the message that you have for everyone. You want to love everyone, and I know that you personally are a Christian. Do you think that your faith and love for music, like, did you just grow up with those like at the same time, or was there like, I don't know, because I know for my life personally, like, I knew Christ before I was into the music scene, but the music scene exponentially grew my faith. So I'm wondering kind of what is a little bit of your story with your faith and your music.
that's a great question. So I grew up I wouldn't say knowing Jesus. I knew who Jesus was.
Yeah.
I grew up in a Nazarene church.
Okay.
And you know, if you know Nazarene churches, they're either one thing where it's like, hey, they're full on dancing through the aisleways. They're the, you know, just sit and like look pretty and don't, you know, do anything. And that was kind of like my church growing up, was the sit and just, you know, occasionally raise your hand and woo, you know, and worship. But that was my experience of what, you know, worship was. That was my experience. But for some reason, I just always still got into it. You know, even when I started playing music, I wanted to I just felt it, and I just would rock out even on worship, even when I knew that they were muting my guitar from the stage. Okay? So, like, I was kind of like, you know, I just loved it. I just loved the feeling and what music can do to move people. However, I was an athlete. So if you want to call it that, I was a lot more into athletics than anything. And my sophomore year of high school is really when things started to take a turn for when I kind of started to look more into the music rather than the athletics, because had some bad experiences with some fellow teammates, and then mixed with, you know, I really wasn't as passionate and I wasn't as active enough to be better. And then I saw a Heart concert live with my dad on TV, and I was like, I want to play guitar. And that kind of just unleashed my love for music. It was just like, I think that was so cool. And he said, as long as you stick with it. So he got me a guitar.
For real.
Yeah, he got me a guitar, and the rest is history. Like, I got more into music. I found through online, I found it to a band, and I started playing guitar, then ended up being lead singer, and then the rest is history. That's how I got into the scene. But I honestly, it's funny because I play heavy music. I honestly used to think it was like the devil music.
Really?
So it was funny because my sister would blare Evanescence, and I'd be like, turn off that devil music, you know, like
that's so funny.
The heaviest I was probably listened to would be Hawk Nelson.
Nice, Hawk Nelson. Oh my gosh.
So one day I went to a Christian bookstore, and my parents, because we were about to do some yard work, and grabbed my CD player, and they're like, you can pick 2 CDs to listen to. And I picked, just out of random, Jesus Freak, DC Talk, and Skillet Collide. I was not prepared for what I was about to hear, but I loved it. I fell in love with Skillet, fell in love with Collide, and then that was the moment where I fell in love with heavy music. And it just started my journey from there. And I think from there on, like, as I started being more in the industry, I learned many more lessons. And I'm not going to lie, there were many times I wanted to quit. Many, many, many times. But I think it's one of those things where, too, you're never really feel like you're supposed to have like a normal 9-to-5 job. I mean, seasons where you were, right, but like there's something more to this than you're hoping for. And it just kept your drive going. And so it was kind of like, hey, I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep going, even though like everything fell apart, and let's restart, reset, let's go. And I think I've probably reset bands probably good about 7 times now. If I would have just started with Reclaim the Day from the beginning, I probably would have been further along, but
that's okay.
But it's okay, because this is all what God had planned.
Yeah, it's all part of the purpose.
But at the same time, if I hadn't learned the lessons that I did and done the things that I did, I wouldn't be where I'm at today.
Yeah.
And I am very grateful for that. Very grateful for that. So it's really affected my drive. And though I wanted to be I guess the first woman in the NFL was my first dream.
Really? Yeah.
Then it was there was another dream that I wanted to be a missionary in India and speak there. And I still want to speak. You know, I still speak going out and doing music. I never really thought of myself being a musician when I was younger, just besides the singing part. But when I played guitar, and then I started learning all the other instruments, I was just like, wow, you know, I feel really passionate about this. And then honestly, through all the periods of learning, my lessons through each time, I really started to learn who God was. And that really changed for me too. So I was baptized when I was 8, but I rebaptized and rededicated my life I want to say 2020 or 2021, I want to
Oh.
say. I was very baptized because that moment at that time, I actually felt like I really understood what a relationship with Christ looks like instead of what I grew up with. So, like, yay, praise Jesus. No, it's like having a personal relationship with him. And that was really what spoke to me.
Yeah. So what looks different now, like to have a personal relationship with Jesus in the way that you worded it, how does that look different now than it did before 2020, 2021? Or would you say it doesn't necessarily look different, but it feels different, or you just have a deeper understanding? What do you think changed?
I have a deeper understanding of it now. And like before, when I was younger, it just felt like I was going through the motions.
Yeah.
And it was just like, okay, I'm supposed to go to church. I'm supposed to do this. I'm supposed to do that. It wasn't really until I became a worship pastor of a church in Indy, I started seeing more of the Pentecostal side and people like speaking in tongues. And I was like, what is this? People falling out in the spirit. And I'm like, oh, what is happening? Like, cause I didn't grow up on that. And I'm
That's
like,
so funny.
is this like, what is are these people like possessed? Like, I didn't know what was going.
Yeah.
It was my first experience with that. And I kind of just grew deeper to see what God can actually do through people, and kind of woke up to the other side of things where it was like, oh, he can really do a lot more than what I was just taught growing up. Just, all right, get up, open your Bible, and then talk to him, and then go back your way, rather than you can spend your day just, there's times like this morning, even I spent 20 minutes just, I wouldn't say meditation because it's not like yoga, but I'll just sit there in silence and just listen to worship music and just see if he has anything to speak to me about. And, and just thank him. The song Gratitude came on by Brandon Lake, and I just was thanking him for everything that he's already done for me, So
Beautiful.
Things of that nature that really, I didn't used to do that when I was younger. But when I started to really, start from I would say 2017 and on, I really started to go further into that relationship and really dive deep and spend that time. And it was crazy to see exactly what I was getting into.
Yeah. Aw. So you feel like that's been better for you?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Tons better.
That's awesome. I think living gratitude too is so important. Like, I know that that's just today, like what you heard in the worship music, and that focused you on that aspect. But I think that, living in gratitude is, we're called to be thankful, I believe, in scripture. And so that's wonderful, especially when you can focus so much on like negativity or like how health might impact you. Like, it can be easy to, it's natural, I think, to sulk in the negative. And so I think that's really cool that you like take that time, and maybe regularly take that time to just sit back and
I think
let God speak.
It's important. It's important because I just did a tour. I do what's called the Unexpected Tour. I try to do these yearly, but I kind of skipped a year. But so I go out and speak. And this last year in 2025, one thing I spoke about is praising him in the storm. And like, it was just like an important thing for me, even as I was getting up on stage and speaking about it, I was trying to live it myself too. When your health is bad, when you're dealing with depression, when you're dealing with so much that's going on, my father passing away last August, and it was just so much, but all you want to do is kind of feel like miserable, everything's going to crap. But in reality, like I as I was speaking about it, I was trying to do it myself and praising him in the hard times and thanking him. So I've been able to recently just really be more grateful even when things look rough. And it's a really hard thing to do for people, but it's an important thing to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think it's really difficult, and it's like hard too to balance, because I think that it's easy for us to like go in extremes. So it's hard. It's like either like, all right, I'm going to go in full denial mode, act like this doesn't exist, and just like paint like scripture over it to convince myself everything is fine, or the opposite, where it's like, oh, like I'm such a victim of this. Like I'm sulking in my sorrow because everything is so bad and I'm not going to do anything to try to improve even what I can in my situation. And so it's so important to have that middle ground of allowing ourselves to mourn and feel the darkness of it for a time. And when necessary, right? Grief is like, grief isn't linear, as people say. But then also the harder thing, I think, is to push through that grief once you've felt it and allowed yourself to be there. And like you were talking about, praising in the storm, like actually like, all right, I've accepted the storm is here. The waves are hitting me. I feel them. They're cold. This sucks. But also I got to keep paddling. Like I got to keep going,
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. So you talked about how your health has impacted your journey and somehow, I don't know, maybe in some ways led you to full-time music. So what is some of your chronic illnesses that you struggle with?
Well, the main one, first off, starting with that, is something that I've dealt with my entire life, is epilepsy. Epilepsy is, for those who don't know what it is seizures and stuff. Like there's different levels of epilepsy where it comes and goes, where it's like anywhere from focal seizures to what we call grand mal, not grandma. Some people think that sounds grandma, but it's GRAN mal. Like
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah. So those are the ones that typically, there's grand mal and then there's petite mal. But there's so many different types of seizures most of the ones that I deal with are called focal. And where I just basically, I can stop in the middle of the sentence and my brain just basically resets and I forget everything that I'm talking about.
I've heard of this.
As a teacher, as a teacher, this is tough because there are times when I'm like teaching somebody and then I'm like, forget what I'm saying. And it's embarrassing because you're like, oh God, this person's looking at me. They don't even know that I have epilepsy. I just got crazy and I don't know what I'm talking about.
Right.
All those things. But, epilepsy has probably been one of the number one things that have impacted my life, especially in the last few years. I have, the first time I had a big seizure was 2022. We were about to take off. Our Reclaim the Day was about to take off on tour. A week before, I had gone to the bathroom and I don't remember what happened, but I just remember waking up in a pool of my blood and I had broken my nose.
Oh my God.
This was a week before Kingdom Come Festival in 2022. So I performed with a broken nose that year, but that was the first time. The second time was it was 2 years ago. It was 2024. And I had just finished a tour with Zana. And we were coming back from Amarillo, Texas, pulled into a gas station about 3 or 4 in the morning. And I, once again, went to the bathroom, ironically.
Wow.
And woke up. The next thing I know, I'm halfway out the stall and there's blood everywhere and I'm like, okay, and I broke my nose again.
My gosh.
Yeah, so that one actually really took a toll on me because it made my health go on a downward spiral. And I was out of commission for a while. It caused severe depression and a lot of different things. And at the time my husband was I think he had just gotten back from his time at the Army. And so it's just kind of one of those things where a lot was happening. So just, it was just a really rough time for me. And sometimes it still hits me, but if I take good care of myself, if I take my meds, keep it under control, it's fine. But some days, are worse than others. But that mixed with, chronic depression and chronic anxiety and, rheumatoid arthritis, I've got a lot of odds stacked against me that I didn't think that I was going to have. Because when I was younger, I was like ready to go. I barely dealt with my epilepsy because it wasn't even that big of a deal to me.
Mm-hmm.
I always used to say I had the least amount in the family, which my brother and sister both have epilepsy themselves too. But now it's like, as I got older, it's been more of a struggle.
Yeah.
And so I really have to keep myself healthy, especially if I'm going on tour. You know, I have to really make sure that I'm working out and eating right and everything so that I can not die on tour. So.
Yeah. Please don't.
Yeah.
Would be
Try
preferred.
not to. Try not to. Yeah.
So you mentioned that for you, for epilepsy, it sounds like right now, obviously you've had 2 grand mal seizures, right? And you mentioned that it sounds like you didn't call them petite, you called them something else. Focal. And that's where you said when you're talking, your brain kind of resets and you kind of just like forget everything. Would you say that's like how would you say, because I'm sure it's very different, how would you say that's different from like, you know, some people be like, oh, like, you know, I walk into a room and forget what I'm grabbing, right? But this is different. Like you're having an actual like focal seizure. So do you think that there's like different like intensities or like different symptoms? What would you say is the difference, or would you say they're pretty similar?
There are different intensities, honestly. And, you know, I've compared it to a daydream before. You know, you're like literally just kind of zoning out. The biggest difference, though, it causes it. There's electricity in the brain, and it's just almost like a small shock, and you're just like, it's like a reset.
Yeah.
And even if you're mid conversation. And the thing why that affects me as a musician is I have to prepare myself for that in case anything happens, especially on stage. Now, granted, with singing, it hasn't really been too much of an issue.
That's awesome.
It happened maybe a couple times, but I typically try to take care of myself in time for a show. I mean, I take care of myself in general, but
right.
But when it comes to just in case muscle memory is a thing, you know, or seizures while I'm playing, like a bass or guitar or drums, I practice so much that I know everything by muscle memory.
Muscle memory.
I do reset. My hands are still going.
Yep.
So I have to do that just, you know, in case anything of that would happen. So.
Yeah, that makes total sense. Yeah. So would you say, is that like, are seizures, is that like the symptom for epilepsy? I don't know much about epilepsy. Or are there other symptoms that come along with it?
There's always some certain things that'll come along with it. You know, there's fatigue and things of that nature. You can always feel like when you are having seizures, you get what's called auras, and you just feel terrible, and you see like colored spots sometimes. It really just depends on the person. But
is that like before it happens? Oh wow, that would be so scary. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's a fun time. You can tell sometimes and then that it's coming. And with the medication that I take too, a side effect of that is depression. So you kind of set up there. So it's like a mix with a lot of different things that you have, and there's, you know, my brother, my sister, and I, we all have depression, and it sucks. And we all take different meds. So it's one of those things where it really does suck. But at the same time, you know, just makes us stronger in who we are in Christ, rather because we're not what our diseases are.
Yeah. That's bars. Yeah, that's good. So with your epilepsy, you mentioned that if you take your medication and you take care of yourself, it seems to kind of keep at bay. What do you mean by like taking care of yourself? What does that look like doing with epilepsy?
There's a lot that factors into that.
Okay.
So, I mean, there's what people don't see behind the scenes is like, it's not just like I show up and play a show. You know, to be able to do what I do, I have to be able to take care of myself in exercise and eating correctly, managing my stress and sleep. which I'm all terrible at. That's why it's like, that's why I had those 2 seizures, because I was terrible at doing all of
Really?
that. And so you just have to really, I learned the hard way for a lot of things of taking care of yourself, you know, drinking enough water, staying hydrated. There's so much things that you have to do to make sure that you are kind of just making it and just doing as a daily life. Whereas a normal person, I'm not saying that normal people don't have it rough, you know, they have it rough. I mean, everybody has their own story. But, you know, as a normal person, I've talked with my husband about this, to get up in the morning and go even just make coffee and to do daily chores. It's sometimes feels like, no, it's just normal. For us, you know, it's like just you wake up in the morning feeling like you got hit by a truck, and it's a lot more getting up out of bed. That's also with the depression and anxiety, and keep an eye on that. And so on that, there's just like a whole load of things on you, all of them together. It doesn't help.
Yeah.
So having to push through physically, mentally, and spiritually, and make sure that you stay healthy by doing those things and exercising and eating correctly, not, you know, stocking up on Oreos and things like that.
Love Oreos.
Just making sure that you are. Now, I love Oreos. Okay, don't get me wrong. You can't eat them every day of your life, you know, because then, you know, it's just not good for you.
Right.
But, you know, making sure that you're getting the nutrients that you need. And that's really the key factor there. Food is probably my worst enemy. I used to have a soda addiction, still do. I don't know why I said used to. Kind of like one of those things where it's like I'm back and forth with all the time.
Yeah.
Thankfully, I've gotten onto 0 sugar sometimes. That more than the actual thing. So I've worked on it for years. That's a big thing. So sugar's like a big thing for me. But yeah, it's really like every little thing can impact.
Yeah.
Even just watching, you know, when I was younger, I would play like an entire day full of video games because I love video games. I can't even do that anymore because it just messes with my epilepsy. By the end of the day, I'm feeling that and I'm having seizures. So it sucks that I can't do half the things that I was able to do, you know, 15 years ago. At the same time, what I'm working to do with music and things like that, it's worth more than sitting around and being able to play for 6 hours.
Right. Yeah. So is lights like is epilepsy the thing that where if there's bright flashing lights that affects your you can get seizures?
Yeah. I actually get this question a lot by a lot of people. They're like, hey, how do you do music with lights and stuff?
Yeah, it sounds so hard.
It's when I'm on stage, I actually don't really focus on the lights much. I look at the people.
Yeah.
And so because of that, and most of the lights are actually facing
the audience, exactly. Yep.
And so it really doesn't bother me. But if I have like lighting bars behind me and everything, if I'm staring straight at them, that's going to hurt.
Right.
I usually will kind of make off with a migraine if I'm looking into it. I've not really had problems with having seizures from them.
That's awesome.
Being on stage. Now, being off stage and in the audience is another story. That starts to bother me a little bit.
Yeah.
And then there was one show actually that the promoter, bless his heart, he put a strobe light right on the stage facing me.
Oh.
So that was like, oh gosh. But I'm one of those people now I can go up and say no, and I can also do that. But at the time I was like, I didn't want to be like, oh, can you move that? Yeah. At the time I was like, I don't want to be a burden. But at the time, so I just literally went through the entire set with my eyes closed. So, or I look over to the side and find different ways. So it was, you know, you find ways to make things work.
Yeah. Is this I don't know if this is a silly question. Do sunglasses help? Is that a thing or not?
Depends.
Okay.
Um,
I don't know the science behind it, so I'm just curious.
I'm horrible with science behind it, like
Yeah.
I'm also like a really I can be stubborn but also really dumb about it. My husband, him and I would be driving down the road at night, and he's like, "Hey babe, there's flashing lights ahead, don't look at it." And I'm like an idiot. I'd be like, "Ooh." That would be me.
Yeah.
And he's like, "I told you not to look at it." Like, I got my brain. It's things like that. So I'm not the smartest, but at the same time, like I got that little kid in me that's just like, "Oh, you're gonna tell me no? I'm
Right.
gonna do it."
Yeah. Oh no. Do you think that you relate with your body that way too? Like if your body's like, no, you can't do this, do you try to push it?
Yes.
Oh no, Becca.
I've had that in my I've learned that, like I said, I've learned a lot of bad lessons the hard way. I have been told by many of my friends, especially last few years, the close friends, they're like, "Stop being stubborn. Just let your body rest." And I'm like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I got too much work to do." And that's exactly why I end up my health ends up failing, because I have to take the time to rest.
Yep.
And so really, in reality, it's like I push myself too far.
Yeah.
And I have to be able to know what limits my body can take. And so in the last few years, I've been really trying to discover and really know the limits of my body and try to take it easy so I don't push myself to another, seizure or something of that nature. Or, my rheumatoid arthritis, that one hits me sometimes too. It's like all my joints at once are inflamed.
Ouch.
And it sucks. And you're just like, "Oh, well, that's great. I guess I'm not getting out of bed today."
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that with playing guitar. Does it affect your hands as well? The arthritis?
Yeah,
so
it
does that ever hit you when you're playing guitar?
Occasionally, yeah. You just kind of play through it.
Ouch.
Yeah.
So what does it feel like? Like, does it feel like they're burning or what's the sensation?
It's like a sometimes it's a dull, sometimes it's a sharp pain, but really it's where your joints are connected. The worst part usually is my ankles and my wrist here. You'll start to feel them at the same time. Yesterday I had it kind of get bad, and my husband would just like massage right where my feet would connect to my legs or the ankles and stuff. So it really depends. And I actually don't take medicine for that anymore, because when I went to see my rheumatologist, he wasn't the greatest, and he had given me medicine, but it was just really a weird situation, and I have a hard time finding a good rheumatologist. So
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, finding good doctors these days sometimes is
very hard. Yeah.
So there's certain things that and I'm sure you would know about this too, is that there's certain things that you have health-wise that you have. Yeah. But you can't do anything about it because you can't find the right doctor to. Yeah.
And unless you have all the time and the money or great insurance to cover doctor hopping, it can be really hard to find. So sometimes you just kind of have to settle with, all right, you know what? I trust in my own research, and if I'm able to make it through without the medication, that's what I'm going to do. But then there's other times where you should advocate for yourself. So, Becca.
No, I've had to learn that the hard way. And that's why I've kind of gotten better with that. And it's one thing that I've learned, especially in the past few years, it's to take time to take care of yourself. I've always taken time to take care of others, and everybody's like, take care of yourself. And I'm like, no.
You're a person too. Yeah.
And that was a big lesson. It took me a while to learn. And even then, sometimes I still mess it up, and I'm like, I'll take care of you. But, I think that came with learning the value in myself. Yeah. And I always wanted to take care of others, but I didn't really feel like I was valuable, especially with the health problems that I had. I was like, ugh.
Well, and then the whispering voice of depression telling you that too.
Yeah. So I just I'm just a burden to everybody with my health. So I'm just going to help others and
Yeah.
push myself to prove to others that I can do what normal people.
Oh no, dude, I get that so hard. Yeah.
Yeah, and it
Oh,
unfortunately never ended well for me. So
yeah.
I had to really kind of scale down and learn that,
Mm,
hey, you got to take some time for you, and you do matter. The biggest thing was for me when I
mm.
went out for the first unexpected tour. The message was for looking at myself the way that God looks at me, through
Oh,
like His looking glass. And
wow.
that was a big thing for me because
Wow.
it was hard. It was
Mm,
hard. And I think that opened my eyes a lot too, because of
mm,
feeling like a burden to my husband, my family,
mm.
everything.
Yeah.
And, at the time, my husband was gone at basic training for the Army. And, like, it sucked that he had to go do that for finances while I was away and touring and things of that nature.
Yeah.
But, I really had to learn some hard lessons of being able to love myself, even though I messed up.
Hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
so that was the biggest thing. And finding my value, not in other people, but through Christ. That was
Hmm.
another. So.
Yeah. Yeah. I would love to hear more about how you did that. First, I do have a question regarding depression. Yeah, I just wonder if you could share a little bit of what that experience has been like, because I know depression is pretty widely known now and pretty widely accepted, which is good. Like we've gotten past we're getting past the point of denial that it exists. That's cool. But everybody's experience is different, and there's still, some stigma or some assumptions regarding depression. So I know that you had mentioned that depression has been extreme for you and chronic, so it's been a long-term thing for you. What is your struggle with depression looked like, and how has that impacted your health?
That's a very broad question to answer.
I can narrow it if you want.
No, you're good. There's just so many answers to that. I mean, just because depression is just, I'll start with this. There's a stigma with depression and nowadays where it's like everybody believes that everybody has a mental illness, and I wouldn't be surprised, but I get like just as I get frustrated with any sickness and people claiming that they have sickness, they do it for people who do it for attention, just really frustrate me. But
Yeah.
when it comes down to mental illness, the people that joke about it and they're like, "Oh, I have this," and then it's kind of one of those things where it's like, some of those people don't understand what exactly depression is, and depression is not just I'm sad. It's a thing that is a constant, and sometimes it's spiritual and sometimes it's physical, and sometimes it's spiritual attacks where you really feel like the devil and his lackeys are coming at you, but other times that it's just a part of your brain that's not kind of working very well. And throughout my time, a lot of the depression has been, I even had one point this past week where there could be triggers, but there wasn't. There was a point in my time where I was depressed and I had no reason to be, but my brain would search for answers for that. And so it's really hard to kind of pinpoint because there's so many different directions depression goes. And so, I definitely spent a lot of time suicidal. A lot of time, they've told me I needed to go to therapy. Granted, I have not gone to therapy yet. So, but I do have medications for it and to keep it, at bay and things like that. And really, it was one of those things where it took years to kind of figure out. And I had a doctor recently in the past few years tell me that with depression comes irritability, and why I was also getting irritable. And so with that, there's so many things that there's times where you think things and there's lies that are just fed into your brain that aren't even true. And, it'll just feed and feed and feed and build. And then you're basically building this entire like scenario in your head that's not even real. And you're like depressed about it. And you don't even know what, it's awful. And, and I know many people that struggle with that, and it's all part of that. And it builds up and it just tears you down.
Yeah.
Really, I had to get to the point where I could rationalize my thinking, slow it down and be like, okay, is this my thoughts or is this like my depression? Is this the spirit, like a demonic attack? Is this something of that nature? Like, what am I finding here? Because this is not me, Yeah. And so I really had to kind of take a step back and like, okay, is this really happening? Like, am I getting depressed? Am I overthinking things? Am I doing this for the wrong reason? And so really it did a number for a while on my marriage because I would have refused to take medications. And we came out with a song last year called Hope Remains, which was about my depression and this experience specifically. But we got to a point where we were in a very stressful point and my husband and I had a disagreement, and I held a gun in my hand for about 15 minutes, about to end my life. And I realized that I had so much to live for, and including my son, my family, I had so much. And there's that still small voice in there that says hope still remains inside the ashes of your heart. So the best way that I can look at it a lot of times with depression is that you've got a devil on one shoulder and an angel on the other, and you in the middle trying to rationalize everything when things are this is bad, but this is good. And it's like overwhelming thought process. And so I really just tried to learn to rationalize my thoughts and make sure that what I knew was truth was the real deal. And that, even when things got hard in marriage, that I was able to sit there and talk it over with my husband and be open-minded that none of the stuff that he says is supposed to be something that hurts me. He doesn't intend to hurt me at all. Yeah. And none of the stuff I say should be intending to hurt him. Yeah. And that goes with every relationship that I have. So.
Yeah. Do you have any specific way that you are able to, like, you talked about basically trying to think more logically. Do you have a certain like process or tool that helps you do that?
I keep my mouth shut for a minute.
Okay.
That's a big one. You don't, I mean, so a lot of it, like I said, some parts of depression is irritability. And that actually was said to me by my doctor. And when I started taking medicine after, because my husband wanted me to take medicine for a while, and that's where that whole thing, and I got on it, and God, I just feel amazing after that. I have a medicine that's actually very neutral, so it's not like making me into zombie brain. Good. Thank God. But when I got on it, I was able to slow my thoughts down. Like, I would get all these same thoughts, but I would be like, why am I thinking this? That's not true. You know, like, I would be able to just stop talking and not say things like right off as I think them. Yeah. Like their truth. And
that's awesome.
So it's kind of one of those things where you have to be able to learn to be patient with yourself. Yeah. Really, really think and really take the time to just, and it's something that you have to communicate with whoever you're talking with, whether it's best friend, mom, dad, your partner, whatever it is, whoever you're talking to, you have to be able to rationalize those thoughts before they speak. And that's just not dealing with anger, but that's like, if you're sad and your head has created this scenario worse. Yep. It's good to be honest about it, but it's also like good to think about, hey, is this real? Is this reality?
Yeah. Have you Have you heard of thought work before?
I don't think I have.
Okay. I'm gonna share this for the audience and you can take and do with it as you wish.
Yeah.
And I think it's so good that like you're talking about how like you keep your mouth shut. I need to work on that one. That's like one that I'm like, man, how do you even hone that skill?
Wow. It took a
But
lot. I was very hot-headed. Very
yeah. Well, great job on that. Impressive that you were able to tame that a little bit. And then are you comfortable name dropping the medications that have helped you
Sure.
and what they were for? You said that you were on a medication that kind of was neutral for you. What was that medication?
It's called fluoxetine. I
Okay.
think it's a generic Prozac, but it's like probably the most neutral meds out there, because the one big
Okay.
reason that stopped me from getting on medications was I didn't want to feel like a zombie like I did with the
Yep.
other
And
medications.
was that for the medication you just said? Is that for depression?
Mhm.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, sweet. So for the audience, and again, Becca, you can do with this as you wish. My friend taught me thought work, and granted, like I say like take this with a grain of salt because, like, as you know, like with dealing with depression, it's not as simple as getting one tool and then you'll be better or you'll believe the right things or you'll
Right.
feel like it's not that simple. But with medication and tools, we can certainly try to improve what we can, right?
Yeah.
Easier for some than for others. Like for some people, thought work is like a miracle send, and for other people, it's a lot harder to trudge through, and also like I don't know, maybe it's less effective. So, but so thought work, I'll try to make it quick, is basically you identify what the main thought you're feeling. So, like, I guess a big thing that I struggle with is that, like, I'm not wanted, right? So, but you kind of have to narrow down, like, maybe you're feeling all these ways. Maybe I'm feeling angry. Maybe I'm feeling isolated, all these things. So I have to identify, okay, what is one major thought or the major thought that I'm believing right now? It's that I'm not wanted. So then you ask yourself, okay, how does that thought make me feel? Not being wanted makes me feel lonely and angry and sad and all those things, right? Not confident. You list out everything you can think of. And then after that, you ask, all right, I'm thinking I'm not wanted. I'm feeling all these negative emotions. How does that make me act? That makes me act agitated. That makes me act, what's the word? Discontent, but it makes me not intentional with my friends. It makes me act more selfish because I'm trying to like conserve like my safety, right? And then, all right, so if I'm thinking I'm unwanted, I'm feeling essentially unwanted, I'm acting in ways that are probably going to make people not want to be around me. And then what's the result of that? Well, the result of that is probably that I'm going to feel worse. I'm going to push myself away from people that I want to be close to. There could be lots of results. So that's the first half. It's like, right? That's the spewing.
That's the hard part.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all hard.
Yeah.
It's all hard.
Yeah. I'd actually say the second half for me personally is harder because it's identifying a true thought. And so you ask yourself, all right, so this is your new true thought. So the original thought was, I'm not wanted. What's the actual reality? I am wanted. I'm wanted by God. I'm wanted by others. And deep down, I'm wanted by myself. And all right, so if I really believed I was wanted, how would that make me feel? That would make me feel happy and loved and confident and cool and whatever, like you list out, you basically do the same process, but in reverse. All right. How would that make me act if I believed that I was wanted and I felt confident and loved and secure? That would make me be intentional with people. That would make me pursue people. That would make me not, have to act in caution and step cautiously. And then what would the result of all those things be? The result would be that I would be happier. I would have more healthy and honest relationships. I would probably be more whole. And I would also know that I'm wanted and feel wanted and probably better my relationships for that, So anyway, thought work is like just one, tool that some therapists will use to like for, depression or whatever. But anyway, it was just a thought because you had mentioned the tool of like just close your mouth. And I love that.
Absolutely. Everything you just mentioned is absolutely the process of what because
Yeah.
at the end of the day, if no matter if what you say is, more angry or if you're sad and you're projecting some scenario that you made up in your head.
In your head, yeah.
Regardless of what you say, it could possibly hurt others.
Yeah.
And hurt your relationships with others and hurt yourself.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And what you start to kind of really think about that process and you're saying, hey, this is not beneficial for anybody. And this isn't even real. So why bring it up?
Yeah.
And leave it there because you know the truth.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. Easier said than done, but so important.
Way easier.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I want to hear about perhaps how your health ended up pushing you into more of your music career. But more so, I want to hear about how your health and your faith have coincided together, and have they impacted each other, and if so, how?
My health and my music didn't start out together, actually. It was, I felt like a pretty normal kid when I was younger. And so I didn't really have much struggle with that. Depression was probably the biggest thing that I struggled with. And I'd say with all the addictions that I unfortunately had, misery was probably the worst one. I was addicted to misery. I was addicted to the feeling of being miserable. And that was my biggest thing when I was younger. But I've been through that phase where it's like, okay, I don't need these medications because God's going to heal me. And I'm not saying God can't heal anybody, because God can heal anybody. I've seen it with my own eyes. I've seen people that were blind see again right in front of my face. And I've seen his healing. But I know for me, I have not been healed yet. And it really just kind of depends on when or if that'll take place, if that's in God's plan.
Yeah.
There's so much there that I'm still trying to learn about. But for me, I went through that period where I stopped taking all my medications. And that was like, oh, God's going to heal me. And I learned that was not the right path, because God gave us medications for a reason. But I think after I started getting older and started to realize I had more health issues, especially when it came down to, I think what started a lot of the health issues was kind of like, I had some issues with ovaries and things of that nature. 2019 came around. I had a miscarriage, and that was devastating. Things of that nature. I just, through every period of time, I kind of like just, realize slowly that there are medications there for a reason. And as I get older, my health starts to get worse, and I have to take it more seriously if I'm to go out and live my calling and do what God has asked me to do.
Yeah.
That's really where my fire is today. I wake up and I will spend time with God, and then I'll start practicing and singing and working out and things of that nature where, I didn't used to do that. So it's really impacted the way that I see things now, because I used to just be like, all right, I'm up, drink my coffee, I'll spend time with God, and then I'll just like play video games, and then I'll practice, and then call it a day. Whereas now it's a lot more involved. It's like everything. I like live and breathe everything. Music, with my health, making sure that I'm taking care of everything. And I have such an amazing support system. I'm blessed with the friends that I have, which my two best friends have sicknesses as well, chronic illnesses. And so it's like kind of I wouldn't say funny, but we all joke about it because we're all just like, hey, we're all just sick.
Yeah.
We're all living for Christ, so that's what matters. So
Aw, yeah.
we have a good support system. My husband, I couldn't do it without him.
It's awesome.
It's just it's an amazing thing to really have what I have, and I've been through a lot of processes where I'm like, all right, how am I going to make it through this? I went from being as a kid where I could just do anything, and now it's like every day is a new battle
Yeah.
with my health. And so it's changed dramatically. And I'm just grateful that I'm still alive. And I'm here to continue that calling. Because I honestly, that one of those big seizures could have taken me out.
Yeah.
I could have hit my head the wrong way.
I mean, you broke your nose twice. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little crooked still. I got a little gap right here, but yeah, it's yeah. It's I could have been out. I could have been dead. I could have been. There's so much that I could have been that I wasn't, or that I didn't. It didn't happen because God had gotten me through that, and it's made a huge impact on my life.
Yeah,
made me that much more grateful for every day that I'm here.
Yeah. Dude, with our last few minutes, I would love for you to talk about, you had mentioned how on one of your unexpected tours, you had talked about seeing ourselves the way that God sees us. I would love for you just to talk about, like, where, you know, I don't know if there's any scriptures specifically that you get that from, or any, like, ideas of how you get to that point, but I would love to hear where that idea came from and how you think that we as Christians, or even people with chronic illnesses, can try to see ourselves the way God sees us. And what is that? Like how does God see us?
Yeah. I'll be honest, I'm terrible about finding scriptures.
That's okay.
There was a few that I had, but it's been a few years, so I can't remember.
Yeah, that's fine.
But the big thing about before I took off on that tour was it was another life-changing thing where it was like there were some people in my life that had really, really wronged me, like left some huge battle scars. And to this day, I still have some scars, but at the end of the day, I've forgiven them, and I wish the best for them. But it was a struggle to see myself, like, with value from coming from that. But I've always struggled with that. Yeah. But after coming out of that, that situation, it was pretty bad. So beforehand, I just heard a voice say, hey, you need to make it right with this person. And you just, before you go out on this tour, you need to start seeing yourself the way that I see you. And that was my mission for that tour. And it was a hard thing to do. And still to this day, there are times when I really struggle with that. But, you know, I think back to the verses and the parts of the Bible that talk about how he made every bit of us. He knows how many hairs are on our head. He knows everything about us. We were formed before we were even in our mother's womb. He knew everything about us before we were even born. I was like, if that doesn't tell you that you're loved, then I don't know what is. Because, you know, I went to a conference once, and if you ever seen, they talked about pottery in this conference. And if you ever seen like anybody who sculpts pottery or clay or anything, they really put a lot of time and love and effort into it. And you just think about God being the potter and how he sculpted us together, each and every one of us, every single one of us, designed differently, and the love that he put in. I'm like, how could I not think that a God like that loved me? And he sent his only son to die for me, so I didn't have the punishment of death. And so I think about that a lot, because if he did all this stuff for me just so that in return all he wants is for me to love him,
yeah,
to be okay,
To believe. Yeah.
Like, that's crazy to me. That's a love that you can't describe.
Mm-hmm.
And so it really kind of meant a lot to me and made me really think about things and the way that I looked at myself, rather than, I'm not what other people say I am. I'm not what society says I am. I'm not what the government says in the letter, medically frail. All right. I am a daughter of Christ above anything.
Yeah.
And that's where my identity is. And if God has it planned for me to go out and do music, no matter what my health is at, I have to take care of myself. That is my part in this.
Yeah.
But I'm going to do it. And, I'm not invalid, thank God. But, like, that's, you start to see, like, when you have doors open, especially too, and you're like, man, like, this is just so crazy. And you wonder every week, you're like, how could you love me this much? Like, but it's a process. It's another one of those processes of like, hey, you have to really think about it, and about a God who loves us so much we can't even fathom it.
Yeah. And your chronic illness doesn't affect that state. Yeah. Thanks so much for that.
Absolutely.
Well, do you have any last word before getting off here for anybody listening with a chronic illness?
Just that your chronic illness doesn't define you. And no matter what people say that you can or can't do and limit, try your best to do within your limits. But you know what you can do. And if God calls you to do something, do it.
Bars.
Like, you are still loved and you are not your illness.
Yeah. Thanks so much for being on here, Becca. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. I appreciate being here.
Thank you so much for being a part of the Christians with Chronic Illnesses community. Please remember to follow, rate, and subscribe to the show. You can also follow us on our socials at CWCI Podcast. And if you're interested in sharing your story, please email us at cwcipodcast@gmail.com. If you are interested in contributing to the production of Christians with Chronic Illnesses, please see the show notes below for subscriptions starting as low as $1 a month, or email us for a more direct way to give. This show is hosted and produced by Ellie Sprague, and our incredible logo, thumbnail, and overall CWCI artist is Brianna Middleton. This show is intended for entertainment and encouragement purposes only. Please talk to your doctor before trying anything you hear on this show. Until next Monday. I present to you The Supernatural Case of an Accidental Time Traveler by my husband, Paul J. Trumba. It's a super interesting book. I'm not even much of a reader, but I read through this thing pretty easily. It's pretty large print, and it's about 500 pages. You can find it on Amazon. It's about Lou Barrett, who suddenly finds himself in, London in the 1800s. He has no idea how he got there, and he goes on to form a really hilarious and cute relationship with a witch, a wizard, and a brawler, and they go on to fight supernatural evils together. I highly recommend. It's definitely for mature readers, but it's a really good book, and you can find it on Amazon. Again, that's The Supernatural Case of an Accidental Time Traveler by Paul J. Trumba.